Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. I am surrounded by all of my stuff that I talk about, or at least try to talk about. But I want to talk about the confusion that still seems to linger about the conversion and the treatment of the cartridges for the Pro 100 from Canon, which uses a dye type ink system. Now, Precision Colors has an ink set for it. Precision Colors will sell you a wonderful, complete ink refilling kit, including the resetter, which I have over there. And I'm going to go ahead and attempt once again to take you through the steps that you need to go through to be successful at this. Now, often what will happen is that people are coming into the game, so to speak, and have not yet heard these explanations or suggestions. And so I understand that. But let's go ahead and try to do this from the beginning. So say, for instance, and I think you saw my brand new CLI, where are they at behind me? 42 cards that I just received that I'm going to add to the cartridges that I stole from one of my new in-box Pro 100s. I have two of them sitting over here, and then the one that I currently use. Now, you will start off with your primary set of cards that come with the printer. Now, they're labeled setup, but they are not by any means loaded with less ink. In fact, they might be loaded with a little bit more ink than even these brand new cards come loaded with. Now, the reason that they are labeled setup is that in the chip, there's information that tells the printer firmware that you have properly initiated the printer with the setup cards. Why is that important? It might be important to some, but to me it's not. This event, the initialization, allows you to use some of the Canon software, such as Print Garden, Photo Garden. I don't even know what it's called. It is kind of useless. So, oh my gosh, it prevents me to use that if I don't use a setup card. That's just fine. I really don't need that very, very basic printing program. I took a look at it, and by any means, it's not worth it. So again, the only difference of the setup cards and the ones that you buy for replacement later on is nothing. It's just that. A little bit of information in the chip that tells that you are now allowed to use certain pieces of software that Canon provides for free. And again, that's just for the very, very basic, lowest end print user out there that just wants to print easily without worries, snapshots and things like that, and little cute little collages and things like that. But for us more professional, intentioned photo printers, we don't have to worry about that. So you will go ahead and load your card set. You will begin to print, and at some point a card will become low. Now, if you want to go ahead and do so, you would have to then remove that card. You will cut away, this has already been modified, but you will cut away a little circle of this label that seals the top of the card, and you will insert this little tool that I have here. It's just basically a little fine screw. Screw that into the ball and then pry it laterally, and it'll pop right off. Then you will drill the existing hole with a 5/32 drill. All of this is in my setup videos for the modifications of CLI-42 cards. So all of the detail is there. I'm just glossing over the steps. Now, when you drill, make sure that you are pulling up the chards that you will develop. It's only going to be a couple of them. Even if a few of them actually fall inside, they will just simply float. No problem. They will never make it to the bottom of the liquid chambers. So you don't have to worry about that. That's one of the questions I get asked a lot. So I just wanted to clarify that. When you drill, make sure that the drill is perfectly perpendicular to the cartridge, not at an angle and not wobbly, because then you will end up with a hole that's too big and will no longer seal with this plug. You need to have a perfect seal. The only bit of plastic you are actually removing is the bottom little seat that holds that factory ball. Okay, so you're not really enlarging any portion of the upper part of the factory fill hole. You're only removing the plastic of that little bottom seat. Okay, so that's all you have to worry about. Now at this point, now let's assume that your car became low. You remove it. You go through the process of removing the ball and drilling it. Now all you have to do is insert a little bottle like this. I recommend you get your ink loaded in these little bottles with a little filling tip. You will stick it through the hole. I'm not going to do that. And then you will fill until the ink is close to the top. Wait a few minutes. Make sure you have the bottom clipped. You need to get one of these clips. And that way you will not have ink dripping all over the place. Make sure your exit port is sealed. You will fill to the top. Wait a few minutes. Let the sponge resaturate itself. That will cause a bit of a drop off on the liquid portion. Top it off again. And at this point you will have the plug in your hand and you will seal it. Now, if you are worried about ink flow, again, I also showed this in another video, so make sure you go back and watch. You will remove the bottom clip. Hold this over a paper cup or something you don't mind getting dirty. Remove the plug. You should get a steady drip, 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 drip of ink. That means that you have a good ink delivery from the liquid chamber through the sponge and out into the exit port. Okay. If you do not have that, something is wrong. You may have something locking up the ability, like hydraulic lock they call it, the ability of the liquid to actually flow through and emerge. I would not put a card with that problem into my Pro 100, or I will have ink starvation problems and possibly even ruin my printhead. All right, now, for those of you who are super picky or are buying dried up cards like these from eBay, you will have to flush them. Go back to my flushing video series, and there you will learn how to do that. Now, what I do is I always begin with a Windex flush. I will load the cart with a syringe full of Windex, okay? And that will actually help for you to later on, as you're flushing with actual water, to end up with a pristine white sponge rather than one that still remains slightly stained with whatever color ink that particular card had. So once that is done, you end up with a nice clean card. Again, refer back to my drying video. We're going to wick away the moisture, and you're going to end up with a cartridge that weighs less than 14 grams, between 13 and a half all the way up to 14 grams. So a certain amount of moisture may still remain in there, but it'll be just so minimal as to not cause any problems. I also have a video that shows you how to prepare a reconditioning type solution, which is for cartridges that are just so dried up. They've been left unprotected for months up to years and just need to be reconditioned. This is not necessary for your normal cards that you just took out of your printer. Not necessary at all. In fact, those cards that we took out of the printer don't have to be flushed. Okay. The only one that needs to be flushed, and I mean thoroughly flushed, would be the yellow one. And here, I believe, back here I have a yellow. Let me see here. Yeah, 2 yellow cards that I flushed. And as you can see, pristine white. Now, how to accomplish that? Remember, that's the troublesome one. Traditionally, what you have to do is you use your yellow until it's empty. Remove the chip and transpose it over to a CLI-8 card that Precision Colors will sell you already pre-modified and flushed and ready to be filled. So you will then load the chip that is in that CLI-8, because of course that will not be recognized by your Pro 100. So you will take your CLI-42 yellow chip, put it on the replacement card, and proceed to load it up. And I also have a video to show you how to load a card that has been completely flushed and dry. So that is it. All of the other cards, one by one, one by one. Now, eventually, you will end up with a full set of cards that have been already modified, are now resettable and refillable. So you can continue to do that. But the problem with doing so is that you will end up with the so-called domino effect. That means that because colors are used in varying rates, you will always have a color that may be reaching low when one has already reached low. And when you refill that one single color and you insert it back into your printer and close the lid, you will run an ink purge on all 8 cartridges. And that one that was low is now almost empty. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Eventually, when you get all of your carts that have been refilled, okay, or modified and able to be refilled, then what you can do, if you just have one single set of carts, is to top them all off at once. Take one out, reset it, takes 5 seconds. Top it off, that takes another 10 seconds. Pull the plug back in it, reinsert it. Take the next cart, reset it, and so on and so on and so on. When you fill, make sure that you have a clip on the bottom of the cart. And that way, when you top off the whole set of cards all at once, you will develop one ink purge instead of 8 ink purges every time you're changing a cart. And if you print often enough, that might be every few days. Okay, now, for those of you who have the luxury of a little extra money, you might want to buy a second set of carts. Okay, and then once you have one set of carts fully modified, you take that whole set of carts out and put the brand new full set in and go through the same process. Your goal, and I know a lot of people don't get this, yes, go ahead and do one at a time until you have 2 completely modified sets of carts. At that point, once a cart goes low, you have another one waiting on the aisles. Take that whole set out, put a brand new, refilled, not brand new, but refilled and reset set of carts into your printer. It'll do one ink purge. And now at your leisure, you can go ahead and reset and top off all of those other 8 carts that you removed. Put them aside as a second set again. And that is it. From that point on, you will be changing one set at a time. Now, if you don't have the luxury of a second set, then you can top them all off when one goes low. One goes low, open up the lid, remove every cart, reset, top off, plug, replace. Remove, reset, top off, plug, replace, and so on. That way you can have a complete set full. You're going to start off again with a complete set full to the brim. And that way you will reduce or eliminate completely that domino effect. And that is all you have to do. Now, there's a lot of other little technical questions that keep cropping up. But if you just follow those procedures, then you'll be fine. Now, just make sure that you don't do things unnecessarily. Do not reflush a cart just because you want to start with nothing but PC inks. PC inks for this particular printer is so close to OEM that it's really not necessary. Go ahead and just, when it reaches low, you'll get the little warning. Take it out, remove the plastic, remove the ball, drill it, fill it, plug it, and of course you have already resetted it, and pop it back into your printer. And you don't want to unnecessarily waste your OEM ink, so do one at a time. Okay, as every other card reaches low, go ahead and perform that same process. If 2 of them are low, then do it on 2. If one of them is low and the other one is almost low, go ahead and do it. Remember, you're not losing ink because you're going to add PC ink on top of the OEM Canon ink. So you're not really throwing anything away. Like I said, the ink is so close and matching that it really doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters is that one that's yellow. That's the one that you're going to have to either have a replacement or have to do that process. And I would recommend that you get a replacement, because if you just have one set, it's very difficult to go and flush this and then sit it to dry and for days. You cannot do that. So you're going to have that replacement from Precision Colors. Go ahead, remove the chip, put it on the replacement cart, and that way you have one that is not going to cause problems with that gelling effect that the original yellow ink has with any other ink that's out there. It's something specific to the yellow ink. So that's it. I, of course, have multi-sets of cartridges, so I don't have that problem. Now, go on eBay and search for Canon CLI 42 empty carts, and you might find them. It's becoming so scarce because people already know that they need to keep those carts. But there are many people who will not be refilling, and so they know that these carts are valuable, and they will be selling them, and often as high as $5 a piece. Now, if you want flush CLI 42 carts, even if you live in the United States, octoinkjet.co.uk has them. They're about $5 equivalent per cart. And so they're a little bit pricey and will cost you some to ship it back. So a set might be $40 plus tax and shipping to you. But it's a luxury that you can have. Now, $115 buys you a real US set of these carts. So again, if you really want to get serious about refilling on your Pro 100 and want to have the most convenient way of doing so and the most efficient way of doing so, the 2-cart system is the best way to go. If you do not have the luxury of 2 carts, one at a time will have to go until you have a full set already pre-modified and able to be refilled. And then at that time, when one goes low, fill all of them up at one time. And that's the way to eliminate that pesky domino effect. And remember, you only have a limited life of those internal waste ink pads. So it's not like an Epson Pro 800, P800 or any of the other Pro printers that have removable maintenance tanks. No, the Canons have internal pads that have to be removed at the factory or at the service center, and it costs a fortune to do so. So you don't want to ever have to reach that point. Now, the lifespan of a Canon printer, it might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know. So you want to basically lower the incidence of cleaning cycles, purge cycles, and any kind of wastage of ink, because all of that ink has no place to go but to the waste pads. And that will actually increase greatly the lifespan of your waste pads. And at the same time, the lifespan of your printer, because once the waste pads become saturated, the printer is done. It is done. Stick a fork in it. You do not want to send a printer that you pay maybe net $100 for and have to be charged $500 to have that done. And then you have to provide them with a brand new set of carts. All right. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this clarified any of the questions that still seem to remain out there about this simple process. And again, it's up to you. There's several options. So if you have the option of 2 sets of cards, you have a different approach. If you have only the option of a single set of cards, then you have a totally different approach. And that's what you have to really look at it and think about before you start getting deeper and deeper into wanting to refill these cartridges. All right. Thank you once again. Please subscribe, please share and like. And as always, happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.